o'clock on ABC. I want to shift our attention over to Anthony Davis, who struggled a bit in Game 3. AD scored 15 points, only 9 total shot attempts, had some foul trouble, and he was a minus 26 in 33 minutes played. So, Richard, how can the Lakers get Anthony Davis back on track tonight?
Well, only Anthony Davis can get Anthony Davis on track, right? Let's look at this. Kelly Olynyk, who averaged 8 points a game in the regular season, is averaging 20 points a game in the last 2 games. So defensively, he hasn't been as sharp. And I'm not saying that he's the only person guarding him. But the 4-man that are the 4 or 5-man that he's getting matched up with is playing well. He's just kind of struggled to get his rhythm. But there was a lack of aggressiveness. Even if you look at in the first quarter, him and Bron both turned the ball over a ton. Anthony Davis has to keep it simple. I understand that it's sexy that he can shoot a step-back 18-footer, but that's not what's going to dominate and abuse the Heat. Him down on the block, really hitting the offensive rebounding glass, and really just dominating with the physicality. That is what's going to get him going again.
And to add to that, I think, like you said, getting AD going, you feature him in the first 3 or 4 plays at the start of the game, just to get the ball in his hands, just to make the decisions. I mean, he's been ultra aggressive, particularly in Game 1 and Game 2. And so you want him to get the ball and just go to work immediately and just feel good about himself, whether he's putting the ball in the basket or making plays, getting the ball to their star players, because, if he doesn't stay out of trouble, they can find themselves in this situation again.
Yeah.
And this is, again, where we see LeBron play a role also. Richard, what do you know about the way LeBron works with AD in between on the days where he hasn't had as good a game?
Well, I can't speak for their relationship because I was never on the team with them, but just as far as his involvement with teammates, Anthony Davis knows how important he is, and Bron does a very, very good job. You see him do it, ultimately throughout his career of lifting players up, telling them how important they are and what is really, really needed. But this is one of those moments in time where, Anthony Davis has to be, on his own a little bit, right? He's got to figure this out because, LeBron James isn't always going to be the individual that's going to be like, hey, you can do this. Hey, it's like, no. At one point in time in Game 2, he was 11 for 12. And here we are before Game 4 talking about how to get Anthony Davis going.
Yeah. Right. I mean, look, and with Anthony,
let me say this. Go ahead.
Yep. Go ahead, Dan.
Go ahead. Oh, well, let me say this. If you looked in that clip, that guy who was walking beside him is another guy who can help motivate and put him in the right places. And Jason Kidd, who is a champion and a great motivator in his own right, he does it not really on the court. He's more efficient and shows his worth off the court. So I feel like he has a lot of people around him. But I agree with you, RJ. At the same time, you take all of that information, but right now in his room, as he prepares for Game 4, is when he should get himself prepared and just say, hey, I'm going to go out and be the dominant Anthony Davis that I am, and we'll see what happens. But being tentative doesn't help. That doesn't help the Lakers. Just go for it.
No, and Rach, we saw it with some other series when we saw it like in the Denver series where we had like 2 rebounds or 3 rebounds. Even if the Lakers win those games, that's not your best version of Anthony Davis. He knows that. Everyone knows that. And it's like, well, how do we get him going on the rebounding side? Well, you don't. That's effort. That's hustle. That's focus. That's intensity. And so here we are in the NBA Finals, and we know how good he is and that he is really and truly the key to the Lakers winning a championship. So only he can find that motivation. There's nothing else there to motivate.
And he's playing at MVP level. So they need the MVP level performance from him because he is worthy. If they were to sweep and he could be the MVP. So if he gets back on track, that's what they need.
Yeah. Well, they're not sweeping. We know that now, right? Miami Heat had their say about that.
But he still has a chance.
Richard, we don't need to see the top of that bald head. Up next, we're playing a finals edition of the Stat Market. Stay tuned. We'll discuss whether we should buy or sell Jimmy Buckets. Joining D. Wade as the only Heat players to average 30 in a single final series. Think about whether you want to get on.
Finals. Get out of my way, says LeBron James.
It ain't nothing to it when I do it.
Oh, what a pass! The Lakers set a finals record for most threes in a half. Anthony Davis lighting it up. What an amazing performance. And the Lakers are 2 wins away from their 17th championship.
Lakers up 2-0 on the Heat. Anthony Davis put on a show again, becoming the 3rd player in finals history to shoot at least 75% on 20 attempts. And you see He's got Hall of Fame company. 3 of the top 4 shooting performances in the finals have been for the Lakers. Stephen A. Smith with us once again for our finals coverage. Stephen, the conversation has to start with Anthony Davis. This is what they brought him to Los Angeles for. This is what he came here for. And now that he's in the moment, he's delivering.
Well, he's been absolutely spectacular and unstoppable. There's nothing that they can do with him. He can hit perimeter shots. He's grabbing offensive rebounds. He's putting it back. There's nobody that's impeding his progress at the basket. They look as helpless as I've ever seen the Miami Heat look going up against Anthony Davis. I know he had 32 compared to LeBron's 33, but he was clearly the MVP of this game, and he's clearly been the MVP of this series. There is literally nothing that they can do. They look absolutely helpless.
Of course, the Heat undermanned without Bam Adebayo and Goran Dragic. They're probably not going to get Dragic back. Maybe they get Adebayo back. Is there anything that you see that they can do to prevent this from becoming a sweep?
Well, that answer would be no, first of all. You can pray. You can do a lot of that, like I told you after game 1. But there's virtually nothing they can do. I would tell you what I would try, though.
Okay.
Bam Adebayo comes back. Put him in the lineup with Kelly Olynyk. Take Duncan Robinson, who's only shooting 2 of 10 this series, 0 for 3 in game 1, just 2 of 7 tonight. He can barely get a shot off. He's a specialist, but because the Lakers do such an extraordinary job of getting out to defend those perimeter shots, it's rendered him almost helpless. So guess what? Go big, have some size on your front line, and then challenge them to man up and bring those young dudes off the bench to give you some energy and see what works that way. That's about the only thing left for them to try, as far as I could tell. Outside of that, it's pretty helpless. I think it's over, and I think everyone knows it.
Yeah, you got to give him some credit. I mean, Heat culture, you know, they made it a fight in game 2, but they just don't have the horses. Normally, they would be heading home. Maybe they get some juice from their home crowd, but of course, this season, that's not the case.
If it were in South Beach, perhaps they'd have a better chance because, dare I say, maybe the Lakers would be distracted. Maybe. That might have been their only hope.
No distractions right now, though. The Lakers focused and in control of the NBA Finals. Steve, we appreciate it.
In particular against Boston in the last round, this is different, though. The Lakers are prepared, and they've got the type of size and the type of shooting right now with the way these role players are playing to beat this. And I thought their approach to it was great all along, Stan. They get the ball to proper areas of the floor, which is into the middle, and Miami's making some mistakes on their zone coverage. Here, Jimmy Butler's in no man's land. He should be matched up there on the wing with Caruso. Instead, when this ball gets swung, it forces Hero to come out, and that allows LeBron to catch the ball in the baseline, where now he can survey the weak side of the court. You see Kendrick Nunn. He thinks the ball's going to the corner, and there's AD at the rim for an easy dunk. Here, once again, you end up with 2 guys on the ball at the top of the zone. You're going to have problems if you got 2 guys on the ball in the zone at any point. Morris flashes middle. You got Kendrick Nunn and Olynyk in the back, worried about AD posting up or the lob. So it's an easy decision for Morris to kick out to Caruso, who steps in to a wide open 3. The 2 areas of the floor you have to attack a zone: in the middle and on the short baseline. And LeBron James and Anthony Davis repeatedly occupied those 2 areas. So not only did they have bodies there, they had the 2 best players on the floor in the 2 most important places to attack a zone. That's going to spell trouble for any zone. But tonight, Miami really had a hard time figuring out how to slow this down. Give Frank Vogel a lot of credit, because they knew it was coming and they were ready for it.
You can try to shoot them out of it, too. The Lakers took a season-high 47 threes. They hit 16 of them, which they'll take. The other problem playing the zone, though, is trying to find a body to put on a body when it comes to rebounding, and Anthony Davis made that a problem.
Yeah, that's the big challenge in a zone defensively. Even when you can force the Lakers to miss a shot, you had Anthony Davis just cleaning up all of those mistakes. And there was a time in the third quarter when he really just took over the game, and he prevented Miami from getting close and making that run. And you see what's going on here. He's got a running start coming in from somewhere on the perimeter when these shots are going up. And you're asking guys like Kendrick Nunn and Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero to find a way to put a body on a guy that's 6'11", and with a lot of strength and a lot of athletic ability. That's not going to happen. And Anthony Davis had 3 consecutive putbacks that we just showed you on this film that really looked like, you know, a man amongst boys when he was going to the glass. And so for Miami, that's a big challenge, because you don't have a specific guy to put a body on, because you're not in man-to-man defense. You're boxing out an area. And Anthony Davis is doing a great job of moving, getting a running start, and then these balls are kicking off, and at 6'11", it's just too much to ask Miami's smaller lineups to go up there and get the ball, particularly without Bam Adebayo on the floor. For the Heat, if you want to have hope, Bam needs to play Sunday, and they need to be better than they were tonight in their zone. At least if they have any consolation, Stan, they did play pretty well offensively tonight. That should give them confidence that they can score against this team. Question is, can they stop them? Because that's 2 games in a row where they haven't had much success.
Yep. Erik Spoelstra remains defiant. No excuses. We'll see what they can put together for Game 3 on Sunday. Tim, we appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Dan.
We're not done with Game 2. Stephen A. Smith going to join us later on SportsCenter. Does he think it's over? As in over? What do you think? He'll tell you later. So stick around.
WNBA Finals, Las Vegas and Seattle, features 6 former #1 overall picks. It'd be 7 if Kelsey Plum wasn't hurt. So you got plenty of star power.
Down into the paint, he's up to 11 of 12. Started 12 of 13, finished 15 of 20 for the game. 75% field goal percentage, second highest in an NBA Finals game in history. Trails only Shaquille O'Neal from a game in 2004. Wasn't just Davis, though. Here's Dave McMenamin.
LeBron James scored 33 and Anthony Davis scored 32 in the Lakers' win Friday, putting them up 2-0 in the finals over the Heat and bringing to mind the most dominant duo in team history, Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. It was the first time Lakers teammates scored 30-plus in the same finals game since Kobe and Shaq did it against the Nets in 2002. The question is, for comparison's sake, who was who? LeBron said in terms of power and size and speed, he's Shaq. In terms of elegance and shooting and the ability to play inside and outside, AD is Kobe. Davis flipped it. Quote, he's Kobe because he handles the ball, and I'm Shaq because I play in the post.
On the Heat side, Udonis Haslem is their inspirational figure. He's 40 years old, played 17 seasons with them, part of all 3 Heat titles. Hasn't played in the playoffs, but that doesn't mean he hasn't been a part of the run. He's there to try to light a fire under the Heat. Did all he could during a timeout. You see the reaction from Dwayne Wade. For more, here's Malika Andrews.
During a timeout in the third quarter, I was sitting probably 30 feet away from Udonis Haslem when he delivered an impassioned speech to his teammates, imploring them to play harder, empty the tank. And Jimmy Butler said he actually thought that they responded to that. It was just a little bit too late. And he joked that maybe Udonis needs to, quote, cuss them out before the game even begins. But overall, Erik Spoelstra said he thought the, quote, competitive disposition of the Heat was better in Game 2 than it was in Game 1. He said, we don't give